She left you, and everything in you wants to see that as failure. Everything in you has been trained to believe that a woman's departure means you weren't enough, weren't strong enough, weren't present enough, weren't romantic enough. But let me speak a truth so cold and pure it will sting your ego like ice water in the lungs. She didn't leave because you were weak. She left because she believed she had already seen everything you are. And once a woman thinks she knows you fully, she stops feeling tension. And where there is no tension, there is no fire. And where there is no fire, there is no desire. And that is why she left, not because you failed, but because you were predictable. So when I say good, I do not mean it for the pain. I mean it for the permission. Because now you are free. Free of the illusion that loyalty is enough. Free of the lie that love sustains itself. Free of the false belief that being soft earns safety. You were not betrayed. You were awakened, and what you do with that awakening is what determines if she regrets everything or forgets you entirely. There is no revenge in pain. There is only revenge in presence, not your presence in her life, but your presence in her memory. This is where your power begins, not by trying to return to her good graces, but by making her question whether she ever deserved yours. You do not explain your silence. You do not dramatize your withdrawal. You vanish. Completely. Not in weakness, but in terrifying indifference. And in that void, her ego begins to rot. Machiavelli did not believe in consolation. He believed in conquest, of perception, of image, of control. So now you must become not the man she once knew, but the man she cannot read. Not the man she left, but the man she can no longer find. This video is not about healing, it is not about getting over her, it is about rewriting her memory so completely, so ruthlessly that one day she scrolls past a photo of you and realizes she has no idea who you are anymore. And that loss, not of love, but of access, becomes the regret that haunts her. Comment, she remembers a ghost. I became a king. If you're done mourning, if you're ready to rise, not with emotion, but with execution. Because what comes next will not just change how she sees you, it will destroy the version of you she thought she left behind. You thought loyalty was the highest form of masculine love. You thought showing up every day, answering every message, staying consistent, being emotionally open, would make her stay. And for a time, she may have smiled. She may have even thanked you. But beneath the surface, boredom began to grow. And boredom, not betrayal, is the seed of her departure. Understand this. Women do not leave because of pain. They leave because of peace that becomes predictability. The same traits you thought made you a great partner, availability, emotional accessibility, unfiltered honesty, made her see you as finished, complete, readable, and therefore forgettable. Machiavelli warned rulers never to become too familiar, because what is familiar becomes disrespected. A prince who is always seen becomes ordinary, and the man who is always emotionally available becomes invisible. She stopped craving you when she no longer needed to wonder what you were thinking. She stopped desiring you when she could predict exactly how you'd react. She stopped fantasizing about you when your presence was never in doubt. You gave her certainty, and certainty is the death of feminine fascination. You confused safety with seduction. You thought love meant being fully transparent. But what she needed was not confession. What she needed was polarity, tension, the unknown. The question, who is this man really? But you answered that question too quickly, too completely. You gave her the full map, and once she saw the terrain, she moved on. Not because it was flawed, but because it no longer intrigued her. And here's the brutal irony. You were loyal, and she did not leave because of disloyalty. She left because you believed loyalty alone was enough to secure devotion. But women don't remain where they feel safe. They remain where they feel something potent, something alive. You killed that aliveness with routine, with texts sent every morning, with calls answered on the first ring, with always being there. And now she's gone. Not because you didn't care, but because she stopped caring first. So what now? Do you beg? Do you explain? Do you double down on the same behaviors that bored her into silence? You reverse the logic entirely. You understand that loyalty must be cloaked in mystique, that presence must be paired with moments of distance, that access must feel earned, not assumed, and that your emotions, while real, are not to be poured out freely like water. They are to be guarded like treasure. You must never again let someone feel certain of you without proving they can carry that certainty with reverence. From this point forward, predictability dies. You do not broadcast your love. You signal strength. You do not confess. You command. You do not offer updates. You disappear. And in that silence, You let the version of you she grew bored with be buried forever, because the next time she sees you, if she ever does, you will be unrecognizable. Not because you changed to win her back, but because you killed the man who made her feel like she already had you. The greatest mistake a man makes after being left is trying to fill the silence, he explains. He reaches out. He makes peace offerings, thinking if she only understood his heart, she'd return. But Machiavelli teaches that influence is not won through appeals. It is won through perception, and nothing shifts perception more violently than the sudden disappearance of someone who was once predictable. Your absence is not the byproduct of pain. It is your declaration of value. Not a value you explain, but a value she must now calculate alone. When she left, she expected some version of you to remain behind. Your messages, your social media presence, your orbiting energy. She thought she could discard you and still feel your echo. What she never expected was a vacuum, an absolute silence so complete it unsettles her. That silence is not passive, it is active warfare. When you stop being reachable, when you stop appearing in the digital places she expects, when your energy evaporates without closure, she is not relieved, she is disturbed. Because her ego told her she was the prize, her detachment was supposed to lower your value. Instead, it created a question she cannot answer. Where did he go? And that question will haunt her. Not because she misses you, but because the man who once validated her now validates nothing. The man who once explained now explains nothing. The man who once offered presence now gives none. And in that brutal contrast, her certainty begins to rot. Silence is not inaction. It is the assertion of power without words. Every day you do not reach out, your value increases, not in her heart, but in her memory. And memory, once distorted by absence, becomes idealized. She will forget your flaws. She will forget the boredom. She will remember only that you once gave her attention and then stopped. That rupture becomes the seed of regret. Do not cheapen your absence by breaking it early. Do not post stories meant to be seen. Do not craft cryptic captions hoping for attention. That is not absence. That is performance. And performance is always beneath masculine dignity. You must disappear with discipline. Like a ruler retreats into the mountains, not to hide, but to prepare. Let her wonder what you're doing. Let her scroll and find no trace. Let her ask mutual friends and get no answer, because your silence is now her mirror, and every day she looks into it and sees nothing. She sees everything she lost. So do not confuse inaction with weakness. Your absence is not passive. It is the most active expression of self-respect you will ever deliver. You are not proving your worth. You are making her earn the right to question if she ever saw it clearly to begin with. This is how you ruin her memory. Not by speaking louder, but by vanishing so completely that the man she thought she knew becomes nothing more than a haunting question. She didn't just walk away from you. She walked away from a version of you that she had already filed and categorized, a version of you she could predict, a man whose loyalty became habit, whose messages became routine, whose presence felt more like wallpaper than lightning. That man, no matter how kind, how devoted, how loving, was too known, and what is fully known can never be fully desired. That's the paradox of masculine failure, thinking that love is won by showing everything all at once, with no mystery left to protect. So let me say this with clarity Machiavelli would applaud. That man must die. You do not evolve him. You do not revise him. You do not try to convince her that he had more to offer. You kill him, quietly, completely without eulogy, because the man she left was built to please, to prove, to hope. And you are not here to be pitied. You are here to be reborn into something she cannot understand. Something sharper, something colder, something beyond her reach. Reinvention is not just personal, it is political. It is a shift in your power structure. In The Prince, Machiavelli said that a ruler must learn to be not good, but necessary. That's what you must become. Not sweet, not accessible, not emotionally soft, but necessary in every room you enter. And to do that, you must destroy the parts of yourself that taught her she could leave without consequence. You begin with the internal. You silence the voice that still wants to explain. You cut off the hope that she'll see your worth. You stop looking at her profiles. Stop seeking signs. Stop reliving her last words. And in the ashes of that emotional dependence, you build again. You change your posture. You change your tone. You dress with precision. You walk into rooms like you own the air. You stop broadcasting your thoughts online. You stop needing to be seen. And most important of all, you speak less, because kings are not remembered for their monologues. They are remembered for the silence that made others tremble. Destroying your former self is not about becoming unrecognizable to her. It's about becoming unrecognizable to the man who once asked for her affection. That version of you, always available, always gentle, always apologizing, was never respected. And what is not respected can never command loyalty. So now you must become a contradiction. A man she once knew, now obscured by evolution. A man she once dismissed, now outpacing every version of himself. Not with bitterness, but with brilliance. Not with cruelty, but with clarity. You will not make her remember what you were. You will force her to regret never knowing what you became. This is how you ruin her memory. You do not taint it with bitterness. You replace it with a myth. And when she tries to revisit the past, the door is gone. Only the smoke remains. A man who is remembered fondly becomes a memory. A man who is remembered vaguely becomes a myth. But a man who cannot be remembered clearly, only felt, only guessed at, only haunted, becomes a ghost. And ghosts never die. Understand this. Women do not regret a man who remained visible. They regret the one who vanished in silence and re-emerged in power. The man whose name no longer aligns with the image in their mind. That is the strategy. Not to destroy her affection, but to blur her certainty. Not to curse her name, but to distort the memory she tries to resurrect. You do not achieve this by posting louder. You achieve it by living smarter. Not to impress, but to confuse. Let your life become textured, elevated, subtly unreachable. Show her nothing. Let the algorithm work against her. No stories, no direct visibility, only hints, shadows, questions she has no answers to. You want to know how to ruin her memory? Let her wonder if she ever knew you at all. Let her ask mutual friends where you've been, only to hear, "He's been different, focused, colder, harder to read." Let her find no confession, no heartbreak playlist, no poetic captions, only stillness and distance, two things that shatter the ego when it expects chaos. Machiavelli understood the power of appearance. He said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be, few experience what you really are. In your case, you must appear composed, unmoved, ascending, not bitter, not broken, just absent, not in presence, in pattern. Your rhythms change, your roots shift, your interests expand, and she no longer knows what to expect, because you no longer operate inside the framework she left. This is psychological warfare at the highest level. You don't remind her of what she lost. You make her uncertain whether she ever had it. She remembers the man who texted good morning. He no longer exists. She remembers the man who responded quickly. He's gone. She remembers the man who overshared, who sought her attention, who softened himself in the name of connection. You buried him. Now she is chasing smoke. Memories that no longer reflect the man you've become. And in that space, she will build stories. She will wonder if someone else replaced her, if someone else now holds the version of you she didn't respect in time. And that, not jealousy, but irrelevance, will torment her. You are not here to be remembered accurately. You are here to be misremembered so powerfully that she questions her entire decision. This is how you ruin her memory, not by breaking her heart, but by reconstructing yourself so completely that the only thing left to grieve is her mistake. She believed you would always be an option. That's the silent assumption behind most departures, that the door will remain unlocked, that your energy will remain available, that your attention will always return. That's what most men reinforce by staying soft, staying visible, staying emotionally accessible even after being discarded. But the final phase of power, the completion of emotional revenge, is not just silence. It is transcendence. You must rebuild the frame of your reality so thoroughly that she no longer qualifies to enter it. This begins with a brutal truth. The man she left allowed her to imagine she could come back. And as long as that belief remains intact, she holds power. Not through action, but through potential. The possibility that if she returned, you'd still be there. That if she reached out, you'd still respond. That if she missed you, you'd still care. You must kill that possibility. Quietly, permanently. Frame is not a set of rules. Frame is identity. It is the psychological ground on which all interaction takes place. Before, your frame was reaction, need, hope, emotion. Now it must become detachment, command, scarcity, and self-direction. You are not rude. You are simply not available. You are not bitter. You are simply uninterested. You are not broken. You are simply too occupied by purpose to entertain what was once possible. You don't block her, that's emotional. You don't insult her, that's reactive. You don't explain the change, that's still seeking understanding. You just become unreachable. The gate she once walked through is still there, but now it's guarded, locked, and patrolled by a version of you that does not speak unless summoned by value. This is not about getting her back. It's about becoming someone she no longer gets access to. You change your circle. You change your focus. You speak less. You move cleaner. You treat your name like currency. You operate like a man who is always watching, never chasing. You become the presence in her life that no longer bends to attention. And when your name comes up, if it does, let the word around her be this: he's built different now. He's on some king energy. That is how you take the final step, not in silence, but in elevation. A rise so quiet it makes her silence feel foolish. A level of self-respect so sharp it cuts the past away without needing to speak of it. This is what Machiavelli would teach a man today. Do not try to repair what disrespected you. Do not try to reopen doors that were closed by those who never deserved to enter. You are not who you were. That was the version she left. This is the version she will never reach. And that, my friend, is what ruins her memory most of all. She thought she left you behind. What she didn't realize is that she walked away from the last version of you she'd ever know. You don't owe her closure. You don't owe her a comeback. The moment she left, she gave you the one thing most men never seize: permission to become unreachable. She believed your value came from her attention, but your value began the moment you reclaimed your frame, your silence, your absence, your power. Machiavelli wrote that a prince must never place himself in the hands of others for validation or survival. You did once, and it cost you, but now you rule differently. You rule yourself. Your energy no longer leaks. Your words no longer chase. Your love, if it ever returns, will not be given freely. It will be earned under laws of respect, distance, and worth. She doesn't regret leaving you yet. Not while she still believes you're orbiting. But when your silence becomes strategy, and your glow is felt but never explained, she will. Quietly, slowly, violently. And that regret will not be because you punished her. It will be because she underestimated you. She will scroll. She will see your name. She will hear about the things you're building, the peace you now hold, the power you carry without ever looking back. And she will feel something that no man has ever left her with before: disqualification. Not because she wasn't beautiful enough, not because she wasn't interesting enough, but because she treated your certainty like it would never leave. And now, she cannot buy her way back in. Let her regret in silence. Let her reach in private. Let her feel your absence not as a message, but as a verdict. You will not be remembered as the man who begged. You will not be remembered as the man who posted sad quotes. You will be remembered as the one who walked away and never looked over his shoulder. The man who made disappearance feel like judgment. This is not revenge. It is reform. You are not doing this to get her back. You are doing this to get yourself back. The most dangerous man is not the one who reacts, but the one who rebuilds, elevates, ascends, and becomes so powerful in silence that the past breaks itself against his absence. Now say it. Say it in the comments. Say it in your mind. Say it with your new presence. She remembers a ghost. I became a king, and never look back again.